it wouldn't be a mark, because if it's a mark, I would generally expect the dog to solve it for itself, or I would possibly put a little bit of control into the area, but the dog's got a picture of it in its head. Could be a memory mark, could be a blind. Let's say that's the retrieve, so we can see it, but in practice the dog can't see it. And it comes up here, it might be a memory area, but there was 5 dummies here, and Janne, Marika, Santu and Hanali have got it right? Have all picked from there, and there's 1 left. It might be a memory that was put down half an hour ago, 3/4 an hour ago, whatever. And we're approaching it from lots of different angles, and the dog gets up here, it thinks it believes where it is, and it gets up into the area, and you stop it, you stop the dog, and that's fine, it looks at you, and then you go hunt left, hunt right, or a general hunt, and it's possibly a dog a bit like Santu's that flies off. What I actually do to teach them not to leave the area, and this is the bit where Janne won't like, is I let them leave the area, because the reason he won't like it is because he trains, you do as I tell you, when I tell you. You don't go, don't do this, don't do it. Is that right? Yeah. Do you agree? So I actually allow them to leave the area and don't stop them. And what the theory that I'm working on, and that I work on, that for me it works for me, is that dog isn't trying not to find it, but what it is doing, it's applying too much effort. It goes into the area, doesn't get success quickly, so then it just expands and thinks, if I put loads of effort in and I go and try in lots of other different places, I'll find it. The reality is, I know he won't, because I can see that the ball's there, and I know that if he goes over there, he's not going to find it. If he goes over there, up there, down there, he's not going to find it. So I let him go where I know he's not going to find it. No matter how much drive that dog's got, eventually he's going to get fed up of not finding it. And what will happen is you'll see a change in how they're looking. If you watch any dog when it has to hunt for a long period of time, they'll start to give you eye contact. When they start off really full of confidence, and when they're looking and they're not finding, they'll turn and they'll give you a long glance before they go back into their hunting again. And then they might commit to it, and then they'll go back into their hunting again. When you can see that trend start, that they're starting to give you eye contact to see if you're going to help them, that's when I contact them. So I let them look in all the wrong places they want to look in, and then all I'll do is at that point where I see them sort of requesting help but wanting to do it themselves, that's when I step in and handle them. And I'll go back, push the dog back, bearing in mind that when I originally started the dog hunting, I started it from here, and it went off there or there. So now it's been looking at me, then I'll handle it back to here, and I try as near as I can to get it in exactly the same position again as I did the first time. And then if you were me, then and they might start off hunting, they might find it straight away on that occasion. They might go off again. But each time they come back, or they start giving me that eye contact, that broken eye contact, it's showing me signs that this dog wants to work with me. This dog's realising by using its own brain it's not getting any success. It's half requesting to work with me. Then if it does it again, I handle it back to that area. The crucial thing is, if I keep landing it in the same place, giving it the same instruction, and then on the second, third, fourth time of asking, it finds with that instruction, then it creates belief in me. So I allow it to use its own brain and realise its own brain comes out with the wrong answer because it doesn't find anything. I keep putting it in the same position, and then eventually, you just drop your snot rag. Eventually, it finds by working with me. So then it has a contrast. It's got a clear picture in his mind of which way works. So you don't beat them up. I'm not saying you do, Yana, but you don't beat them up for going the wrong way. You allow them to express themselves and try and solve it their way, but then you know they're going to fail, and then it actually decreases the dog's confidence in its own ability. And if that picture happens again and again and again, they start to become very accurate handling dogs. Because when you say look that way, the belief's there, and by Christ do they look. They look properly because the trust's there. Yeah. So, but that's done through repetition, repetition, repetition. So once of a day I used to handle exactly the same way as Yana, and what I found it gave me was very robotic dogs. It gave me dogs that did as they were told, but they didn't do it with a lot of passion. They didn't look very spectacular. They sort of more skulked around, and as they were looking, I'm not leaving the area, and they kept giving me this eye contact of, are you going to tell me where it is? What do you want to tell me next? They were more anxious, whereas by doing it this way, you keep the flow of the dog, you increase the belief of the dog, and more importantly, the other big spin-off, what happens eventually is the point that you were at, where you asked the dog to hunt to the left or to the right, it's like they log that in their memory, and when they expand and they're not finding it, they naturally reset the exercise. They retrace their steps, and they take themselves back to the beginning, and they start again without you having to do it. So at the starting point, they're here, and you go, put it this way, it's like this. If you said to me, you're on Euro, aren't you, in Finland? Mm. You're on Euros. If you said to me, Guy, I'm going to send you out there, and when I tell you to stop, within 2 metres radius of you, you're going to find a €100 note. And I go out there and you go, that's it, Guy, there. And if I look and I find a €100 note, the next time you tell me, I'm going to believe you. If I find it 10 metres away, I'm going to loosely think, Petri, there is a €100 note out there, but it's very rarely within 2 metres of me, and I'll look bigger. So I have a quick look within the 2 metres, and then I bugger off, and last time it was about that far away, So you set a picture, and I have a trend for how accurate you are. But if I set a trend that I'm very accurate, you set a trend with me, you're very accurate, I'm only ever going to look within that 2 metre radius. And as soon as I step out of it, I've gone too far. He's never wrong, it's always within that 2 metres, and dogs do the same thing. They're confident in what you're telling them. So they reset the exercise.